From buying your first box of miniatures and paints to being a gentleman or lady on the gaming table, we have you covered.
We'd like to take a moment and thank our sponsors, Dragon Slayers, The Forge Hobbies and Games, and Rexer's Lasers, and the Patreons that support the channel, plus you for taking a moment to watch the channel. Hello, everyone. Welcome in to another great day. Apparently, I wasn't paying attention and I forgot to turn off the sound, but it's okay. It's going to happen. We've got things going on. What I'm going to do is I've got to pull up a few things here so I can make sure we've got everything going. First off, we're going to get this thing rocking and rolling. I'd like to take and thank our Patreons, Skip, Joey, Logan, Lilith, and Ken. Greatly appreciate them. And then anybody watching that hasn't liked it, click the little thumbs up. I could say if you don't like it, click the down thumbs twice. I learned that's a neat trick. And then subscribe to it. So greatly appreciate that. As the title says, if I did it right, we're going to do, it's a Monday. It's a live thing. So we're going to try to keep those true to form. We still have a bunch of the boarding patrols are coming out and being released. Interesting fun fact, apparently. What up, Ken? Good to see you. Apparently they're going to take and be releasing a new one this coming up week. So I'm going to get it. I do not get them early, but from some of the things I've been reading, some of the things are changing. So what I'll do is I will continue the series along as I'm doing those, and any changes they will be for future books. We'll have those changes in them, minus 2 or 3 that are already recorded. And then I'll probably will take that book and go through and do a list adjustment based on everything that's come out just for that. Because I do like the boarding patrol and I think it's pretty neat. Just GW is really putting out the content with them. So I was like, all right, cool. So now that we've got all the things out of the way, first things first, we are going to start with what the title says today, which is list building for 2023 ITC and ways to go about it. So fun fact, this one content idea was presented today by one of the friends, Dane. Me and him were looking at something. I kind of threw something at him and said, hey, what do you think of this? And kind of went through the process. So as he stated, because I did not come up with this on my own, and I am not against it at all saying it. Let's pull this up here. Basically, the list concept is what we're going to go over. Build it. We're going to tweak it for points and efficiency. Then we're going to go through the list. We'll actually play once the secondaries apply, and then tweak it again. So kind of what Jamie did with his Botan. But with this one, it's Drukhari, Dark Eldar. Because in all of my trading, buying, printing, I've got a ton of it now. I think I've yet to get a video. I will get a little snippet. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a YouTube short to do it. But I've got, I think 8 Raiders, 3 of them 3D printed, 5 Ravengers, and then I've got 12 Venoms, over 100 Witches, over 100 Warriors, over 50 Racks, and everything else that goes along with all of that. So I was like, cool, I'm going to see if I can take and come up with an idea. And I'm going to flip down here. Oh, hold on, let me do this. I've got all kinds of new toys. So we're going to see if this works. Oh, yeah, we're going to let it come around. Hold on. Yeah, it's going to work, I think. Because I'm going to try following the paint tutorial that we did and copy this paint scheme that came with some of the ones that I got. So as you can see, it is a succubus, and she is pretty cool looking. I really like and dig the color scheme on her. So I have borrowed the ultrasonic machine from Grant, and we're going to start stripping and painting, and hopefully I can match it. Jamie's tried to get me the colors. So that is one of the things that we're taking and going to do there. And the list idea, if I can get the camera now to do these things right. I am a one-man band today, folks, so it is all over the place. So cool. There is the list idea in all of its glory, and I will go through everything from that standpoint, how I came up with it, and so forth. And we will take and go there, and then just going to flip this back to the paint, and I'll flip this back up to me. Do this right. I'm going to be in the bottom corner. Oh, Ken, you said something. I got to see what it is that was said. Because I'm all over the place, sir, but I want to answer your question. So, nope, that is not what I wanted. think I've done this a few times, but not really. Sweet. All right, cool. So one, I've done, like I said, boarding patrol, and a lot of those things have come out. Hadn't really dug into much of the Arcs of Omen and just the competitive side of it. We finished the hobby track, so we really like doing the painting. Again, I'm going to try to bring it up to the standard of this chick right here for the entire army. So I come up with an idea. So here in the next week or so, this week, I'm going to be going to do a practice. So here in Houston, we've got several teams, and a lot of the teams have gotten together. And they said, hey, we're going to, I think, ATC. We want to start practicing for a team tournament. So Wednesday of this week, we're going to have several of the teams get together, and they're going to start doing pairings and so forth. And so I was like, all right, cool. If they're going to do that, then let me think through on how the team lists are built. And I said, I want to build a list that's just going to score 75 to 80 points every game, no matter what. And it could be the army that goes into their strongest winner to kind of and negate that. So in team tournament, in ATC, in the 5-on-5, you've got all these different things of the way you score, the way it stops. And so your scoring is very wide. So if you only win by so much, you score 0. If you win by this, you score 1. I think if you lose by certain much, you lose 1. And it's 5 games. And so at the finish, you could have, or maybe it's 2. But you're not going to have a lot. If you won them all, you get like 10 points. So if you can negate the one that should score 2 points with an army that's built just to go do it, then that's kind of the concept. So built the list, threw it together, sent it to Dane. I was like, all right, what do you think of this? So first off, it's all witches because I have 105, 110 witches. So I was like, that'd be cool. So I started building into it. Now, one of the things that I have done a lot is on a lot of my list, I do minimal MSU. So 5-man witch squads, chunk them in some venoms, and go that route. Well, what I ran into is when I'm running 13 venoms and I'm running 13 or 12 5-man units, and I show up to the table, they go, oh, sweet, I'm going to score 13 for Bring It Down. I'm going to score Grind. So I'm going to score those 2. And so even though I could score, I'm at a disadvantage because I'm just giving them away. And so I went back to the table and was like, all right, I guess I would go past MSU because I've got the witches now, and I only had, I think, 50. So now I've got, like I said, 110. So I was like, I'm going to go 10-man units. And I'll never forget in 8th, at the beginning of 9th? I think it was 9th. Last year I went to an event and somebody had 100 witches. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm kind of just playing around with some ideas. And so I came up and I ran an Archon, Slithin Urgles, a Succubus, 5 10-man witch squads, actually 6 10-man witch squads, 6 Raiders, and then 3 sets of 3 Reaver jet bikes. So that was the first build. Like, all right, cool, put it together. The whole goal was the Reavers will go get me behind enemy lines. And then I will use the others to take them alive because I'm just basically going into combat because witches shooting is horrible. And then the other one is take them alive behind enemy lines and banners. It's probably what I'm going to end up doing. Yes, banners. So that was kind of the secondaries I was thinking, taking and going. Banners always gives me a good 10 because of the way I can do it. And so as we broke it down, I was like, all right, send it to him. He's like, well, I like Incubi. And I'm like, okay. So then I was like, all right, sweet. So I switched it up to 5 10-man units of witches, 2 20-man units of witches, because in Arcs of Omen, reserves are free. So the 2 20-mans can go into reserves. And I always like taking Red Grief. It gives me 2 inches to the advance roll, and I get to reroll charges. So one, I'm not having to spend CP now to reroll the charges out of reserves for those 2 20-man witch squads. I get it for free. So if I roll 2 sets of dice and I don't get a 9 on 2, then it is what it is. But I have another unit, a lot of units going at them that if they're willing to dedicate to kill that 20-man squad, by all means they can do it. I have to be better at placing it and so forth. I might start them on the table just depending on how fast or slow the army I'm running into, because I can advance and move from that standpoint. So that's kind of the thought process behind them. And then I went from 6 Raiders down to 5 Raiders. I kept the 3 Reavers because that's just a standard behind enemy lines. Because you give them the 2-inch drug and they can take and haul, they're going to be moving 28 inches. So you pretty much are going to score those unless you get some different things from there. And so me and him were talking, and he was like, well, we can try some Corsairs, and I don't own those. It's like, nah. Well, the next thing we figured out is he ran some Dark Eldar this past weekend, and he got trounced by drop pods. And I said, oh, I got to take care of drop pods. I need to keep them out. So I ended up putting 2 5-man units of mandrakes. So the 2 5-man units are mandrakes for the match when I go against drop pods, because we all know Space Marines are cheaper than they normally are. So therefore, they get Here, we'll flip this up. I've kind of kept it on that for a minute. We'll do this. We'll go this. I'm in the corner. We'll flip it back and forth. They get to drop in, and so with Space Marines getting a lot of free upgrades, you may see a lot of drop pod lists because that's a way for turn 1 for them to get on the table without you being able to expand your area. So the 275-point 5-man mandrakes allow me to put those out to try and push that out. Now, they have infiltrators and they go first, they can open that up, but at least it gives me an option to have a way of screening some of that out. And then I went with 1 warrior squad. So the 5-man warrior squad is to set on the home objective to put up the banners there. It's 40 points, set there, throw up banners. That's 5 points I should get unless all goes to heck in a handbasket, which if it does, it does. But if it works like it should, they should always be scoring on that one and holding the objectives there. The mandrakes will allow me to actually deny the deep strike or go out and be on some objectives outside my deployment zone to put banners down turn 1 as well. So that gives me some more banners, and then they can kind of go do their thing or sit there. The three-man Reavers are just going to go get me 9 points for behind enemy lines. Eventually, I'll be able to get more. The 2 20-man Witches will go into deep strike, or not deep strike, reserves. It doesn't cost anything, so I can bring them in to hopefully hit a 9-inch charge on 2 charges. And then the 5 10-man witch squads are going to go into the 5 raiders. And then I had 10 extra points, and so on those 10 extra points, I took and put phantasm grenade launchers on the raiders. One of the things, talking with Dane, is not burning a ton of CP now with Dark Eldar. So I have a little extra. I do have a succubus, and she has... this one has the blaster and a whip, but technically she's going to have a blaster and a glaive. I'm just not going to rip this model apart for that. So we're just going to kind of leave it at that. Get over to here. Kind of messing around with the cameras as we're messing around. So to go there for that one. And then the 2 Phantasm grenade launchers allow the Venoms to take and move their 14. I can spend 1 CP for ether cells to move them another 8. And then I can spend 2 CP to allow them to, after they shoot the Phantasm grenade launcher, to actually fade and fire. So it gives me another 7 inches. So in all, the Raider's 14 plus 8, so it puts me at 22 plus 7. It's 29-inch movement with the Raider. So if I set it up right, I actually in turn 1 can have it actually behind enemy lines if I want to, with a set of Reavers, holding a 10-man squad of Witches, just sitting there going, what do you do? And they have to deal with that no matter what, which means I am able to take and get board control and get everything else set up. And in turn 2, I can do the same thing with the second Raider if I want. So it's options from that standpoint. At first, we were going to use the grenade, but the succubus is actually going to be, she's going to have the show stealer. And at the end of the day, based on her being able to come out of a Raider, advance, do her movement, charge, do her consolidate or pile in, and then her 6-inch consolidation, because she's a show stealer, she will actually be able to take and move 32 inches across the table, and then for 1 more CP, hop back in the Raider. So there's a lot of tools in this toolbox that allow me to play the game. So kind of back to what we were talking about earlier, built the list, started out going one way, started with 6 Raiders. It had Archon, Slith, and Urgle in it. It had a bunch of those different things, sending it back and forth, trying to figure it out. Oh, and we did do one other thing, and I forgot about that. One of the 10-man witch squads has actually been upgraded to Blood Brides. So on turn 2, they're hitting on 2. So they're the ones coming out, hitting on 2s. All the witches have the drugs. Normally I would take movement, but I'm kind of changing away from the movement. All the witches have adrenal, so they all get an extra attack when they charge or heroically intervene. So basically a 10-man witch squad is going to be 50 attacks, hitting on 2s from that Blood Blights, or in turn 3, hitting on 2s because we get +1 to hit. Yes, it's only strength 3, so 5s and 6s to wound, but 6s on the Blood Blights are actually -4. So they can kind of hit pretty hard, and then the others go in. And then again, 2 20-man squads, if I spend the CP on one of those, that's going to be 5 attacks each, so that's going to be 20 times 5, it's 100 attacks, hitting on 2s, turn 2. So there's a lot of places for me to send the CP. I just have to choose when and where to spend the CP. So this becomes a very killy list versus my normal Dark Eldar list, which are very, I'm going to kind of jump over here, score some points, and die. This one actually has some teeth to it that you have to respect. Since I am running 10 mans and 20 man units, this is the favorite part because I couldn't do it in 5 mans. Every one of them has a shard net and an impaler. So that means whatever you're tagged with, when you go to try and fall back, unless you're Titanic or so forth, we're going to roll off and I'm going to get +1 to the roll. So it allows me to hopefully keep you in combat. And if witches stay in combat, they're the new Harlequins. You don't see my fingers. I'm doing because they have a 4-up invul while they're in combat. So it's another piece to the aspect of them being able to do that. The Dark Lances on the Raiders gives me 5 shots to maybe pop a vehicle, maybe not, if I can get some right angles. So I do have a little bit of a punch there. The Succubus, she actually has the blaster. So in 6 inches, she's got a D6 gun. It's D6 damage gun. She's got the glaive, but we've upgraded that to the blood glaive. And I've given her precision blows. So when she rolls her 6 attacks, I think it is, or 7 attacks, any 6s to hit automatically just do mortal wounds. Anything that does not, she's sitting on 2s, it is strength 5 -3, flat 3 damage. So even if I don't get the mortals, it's still going to be brutal unless you have an invul to be able to pop it off. And so that's kind of the list. I went through that a little faster than anticipated, but I did want to take and do something from a live perspective on a Monday, because that's what we want to make sure we do. Next week, we will for sure have boarding action, a live game of that. Let's see here. I'm going to look, see what he put on this thing here. 2 seconds, folks. Find the list, build it, tweak it. Yep, tweak it. And then how to play on secondaries and tweak it again. So, went through the Blood Blides and the Succubus Dancing was the 3rd tweak. Secondary wise, I should be able to for sure get 12 points on behind enemy lines, probably a 15. The take them alive, it's 3 for character and I think 1 for each thing, just based on the sheer attacks coming across. Should be able to get maybe 1 character unless you only bring 1, and I should be able to get, kill several things. So we're going to say roughly, anywhere between 6 to 8 points, 10 points on that. And then banners should be at 10 points there, easy. So it's 10, 10, and 15. So we're going to say from a standpoint on that, I'm going to flip it back here. This is what we do. And then we're going to flip it here because we're just going to let her spin around for a minute. Sweet. From a standpoint on secondaries, 10, 10, and 15. That's 35 points, so I'm 10 points shy on that. And then primaries, it should score 8, 8, 8. It should get about 40 over the rounds. Just doing some different things, doing the whatever the mission one is, just based on bodies. Because again, minus the mandrakes and reavers, everything else, and the raiders, everything else is objective secure. So unless you have it, I'm going to be able to snipe it if I want to take and charge in with 10 guys and string them out to grab an objective while I'm still hitting with 8 of the guys into something else or so forth. So realistically, the list should score 80 points, unless it just runs into something. Now, I can't just willy-nilly it and throw it out there and be like, hey, it's just going to do its thing. You actually will have to take and pilot it correctly. It allows me, because of the speed of things and the way that I can attack things, I can turn 1, chunk 1 unit of reavers, stage everything else hiding, and go your turn. Turn 2, chunk another thing of reavers, maybe chunk one of the blood brides out that I staged up to let them go hit and do some things. And then turn 3, really apply the pressure. So I don't have to, out of the gate, based on my secondaries, just, I have to do this or I'll lose. I can play very cagey with it. If you put things in positions for me to go get, I can go get everything. If you want to be very aggressive coming at me, I can hit you first. Like I said, I have 2 inches on the advance to get to reroll the charges. So everything pretty much should be moving along. And then with the adrenal glands, everybody plus the thing is setting with 5 attacks. So it's 3 base, 1 for the blade, which makes it 4, and then the adrenal will give it 5. Now what's fun is also, if you've got the CP, again, spending or spend it, I can spend CP to double the drug. So I could actually get them to 6 attacks each, which means that's 60 from the 10-man squad or 120 from the 20-man squad. So when I'm saying this is, as they say, Dark Eldar or Drukhari, death by 1,000 cuts, I'm literally chunking 1,000 cuts at you. So I get to just chunk dice and see how it works. So it's a concept. I have not got to trial it yet on the table. I get to do that this week in a team format, which is why I kind of had the list idea. So I want to be able to take and see that. Ken says, sounds interesting. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I don't know how it works. The good news is unlike the list before where I was running the 12 Venoms or 13 Venoms and the 12 troop choices and all that, where you could take grind and you could take that, my Raiders only give you 10 if you take vehicle kills, which is really nice. From units on the table, if you kill everything on the table, all the witches, and you table me, you can get actually 14 points for no prisoners. But realistically, you just depends on how it goes. You get those, probably getting 11 or 12, so that's fine for me. And then I don't know what the other one you take against it, because I only have one character. You could take banners or so forth. But if I'm playing somebody and they take banners and they take no prisoners and they take killed vehicles, then they're going to get 10 for the vehicles, 14 and probably 10. And mine was 10, 10, and 15. So unless they can outscore me on primary, I win. But again, I'm not trying to win. I'm just trying to score 80 and keep them from having a big blowout win, no matter what army I go into. So again, it's a list built for team format that has evolved into possibly it could go play in a regular game. Don't know for sure until I put it on the table. Grind is not necessarily an easy option because Raiders are hard to kill if I make it -1, depending on what you're going to actually get to see. Because it is a 10-man witch squad, most of the time if they're coming out of the Raider, they are flying to go tag something, and hopefully I win in the roll-off with a +1. So, yes, Ken. Ken asked if I said I'd be live streaming this weekend. I will, Ken. We will be live streaming. So we got live streams for the next 1, 2, 3 weekends. This weekend will be Malifaux. I'm going to do some things on that. I have been playing that one and getting pretty good at understanding the cards. So anybody that doesn't know how to play it, I can go over the rules and how the game's played and what's going on and be a little bit more efficient there, pulling some cards up and talking through that. The following weekend, so the 17th, 18th, will be the Heroic Skill Gamer Houston Open at Dragon's Lair. It'll be a 2-day event. We're sitting right at 40 people so far signed up. Still got some tickets available if you want to sign up and come have a good time. And then the weekend after that, so the last weekend of February, we'll be live streaming on Saturday, and I'll be streaming Blood Bowl, which will be the first time ever streaming Blood Bowl on the channel. So for the next couple of weeks, I've got to get one game in so I understand it. I am a big college football person, so that's just me in general. So football and 40K, it's like, oh yeah, that's fun. I've got armies. I just time-wise hadn't had it, and they decided they're running, I think it's the Greater Houston Blood Bowl League is putting it on. I think I probably mispronounced that, but they are putting it on, and found out I do some streaming and said, hey, would you come do it? I said, sure. It's a miniatures. It's 40K. Why not? We'll take and have fun with it. So we are going to be streaming that this the third weekend. And then in March, I think we got 3 weekends too. And then April, I just got hit up to stream Kill Team for one of the weekends in April. So I'll probably have 3 weekends in April too. But weekends are going away. I can't play anymore because I'm streaming. But I actually enjoy it. So it's really fun. I get the games in when I can get them in. But also I'm able to take and put the content so people have something to watch from that standpoint. Any other questions from anybody in the chat on the list, or how I built the list, or the concept of the list? Anything from that, or just any questions in general? I'm going to take and sit for a second. We got Walker. Kind of did that. We did the paint video on that. We got him almost caught up and watched on that one. We've got I've got Guard Codex that I'll be taking and getting done for ARCs here soon, along with Death Guard and a few of the others. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's not a long one because, again, I don't have the terrain for boarding action, and I apologize on that. But it is being painted, so I will have it next week fully painted, ready to rock and roll. From that standpoint, and I may put Dark Eldar in it. Heck, since I've been messing around with lists on that, I may build one of those and put that in it. And that's pretty much all I got. was not a long one, but I want to make sure it was live. And I'll take it and I'll end up making a short with the Dark Eldar on the shelf. That's a good idea on how to do those. With that, if you've made it this far now and you hadn't, hit the like button, hit subscribe. If you're watching on a VOD, subscribe, like. If you don't want to do anything else to support the channel, we do have links for the Patreon down there. We have Twitter, Instagram, all those. You can go hit those. I'm not perfect at putting out on those, but I'm trying to get better from that standpoint. And if you have, just greatly appreciate you spending the time with us this evening, watching the channel, going over the list. By all means, on this one, for sure, if you haven't watched it live, throw a comment down below. If you have any comments about it, any questions about it, anything that should make a change on it. If you don't like the way I put it together and you're like, no, we'd rather do it this way, throw it up there. I would love to hear from some of the Archons out there that run Dark Eldar more than I do. Even though I do love them and I have a ton of them. Like I said, I think I got about 50,000 points of them. Just not all painted. So we're working on that, getting it all painted one standard. It may take me several years to do it, but we will get it there. With that, let's see. Cool. With that, everyone have a great weekend, and we will see you next time.